Okay, coming up here on our right is the most important turn at the racetrack. It's a right-hander, a sweeping right-hander called Tête Rouge. It's the most important because it leads onto the longer straightaway here at Le Mans, the Mulsanne straightaway. Approaching Tête Rouge, you point the car at the second poplar tree here on our left, the second poplar tree, and that's your turn-in point. Okay, at that point you open the wheel and you're on the Mulsanne, the longest straightaway in racing history. It's broken up by two chicanes, one on the right, one on the left. They slow the cars down prior to the chicanes being in place. Now this coming up here is just a temporary, kind of a temporary diversion here. The racetrack actually goes straight right there. We're going to do this little whoop-de-doo here, and then we'll be back on the Mulsanne. The first chicane is on driver's right. They were put there to slow the cars down. Prior to the chicanes, like a 962 Porsche would come off Tête Rouge, top gear, fifth gear, 60 seconds in duration down the Mulsanne straightaway. 60 seconds in duration, flat on the gas. Speeds were well over 220, 230 miles an hour down the Mulsanne. So second chicane is coming up on driver's right. These are exit speed turns. It really doesn't matter how fast you're going into them. It's all about getting out of them and maximizing your speed out of the chicane. Like I said, the first one here is coming up on our right. You always know you're coming up on it because you see this, the old tavern here on our left, the famous old eating and beer drinking establishment on our left. And then a ways down here at night, you see a great big flashing orange arrow pointing you into the chicane coming up here on our right. We go in right there, and then the middle of it, and then obviously this barrier is removed, and we come out of the chicane. We got a little whoop-de-doo coming up here again here. This is because these are public roads you're on, and they have to make them accessible by local traffic. So we got kind of a little bit of a whoop-de-doo here, and then we'll be right back on the Mulsanne straight, headed down to the Mulsanne hairpin. So we're going to work our way right through here and back onto the Mulsanne. Longest straightaway in racing history. Okay, we're back on the Mulsanne straightaway. It's lined on both sides by metal Armco. At night, the only thing you can see going on around here is these little blue dots running around in the woods. Those are the safety workers running around there with their little blue effervescent helmets on. Other than that, it used to be pitch dark down the Mulsanne here. So coming up on driver's left is the next chicane. Coming up on driver's left again, it's an exit speed turn. It really doesn't matter how fast you're going into it. It's all about how fast you're coming out of it. Coming up here on our left. Big, wide, sweeping, and with a huge exit here. Lots of real estate to work with here on the exit. This slight bend is flat out. You're flat out through here. All the way to this little rise. You're flat on the gas all the way to this rise here, and then you're going to drop right down to the Mulsanne hairpin. Slowest part of the track here. This is the slowest part of the track coming up. It's a very, very sharp right-hander. Big brakes to get the car moving down here. You're hard on the brakes here. Just torturing it. They light up at night. The brakes just light up from the temperatures. And as you can see on our right, that is the Mulsanne hairpin. That obviously blocked off right now for local traffic. But it's the Mulsanne hairpin, a very sharp right-hander like this. And now we're going to head on up to Indianapolis Arnage. We really don't know why it's called Indianapolis, why they named the turn. I don't really hear it referred to that opposite, but it is on the map. Indianapolis, it's a right-hander. One way or the other, this is actually the fastest part of the racetrack. Cars traveling here are the fastest they go on the racetrack. There's two little kinks right here. You take them flat out, but you've got to get the turn-in point just right. Right there is the apex, and then you just open the wheel and free the car. That's the first one, and then there's another one coming up here right at this this white overpass. The second kink. Overtaking here is amazingly fast. The prototypes overtaking here on driver's levels is just absolutely frightening, the closing speeds. Beautiful back here in the woods. You're racing through the French countryside here. These roads were never built to be raced on. Coming up to Indianapolis right here is the 100-foot brake marker. Big brakes here. Big brakes, the car really moved down. And then again, big brakes coming up to this left-hander. The left-hander here that we're in right now takes us on up to Arnage. Arnage actually is a city. There's a little barricade here again for local traffic, but obviously at race time you're straight there. We're going to go through this little whoop-de-doo, and then we'll be back on the racetrack heading up toward Arnage. Okay, now we're back on the racetrack. Heading, like I said, heading back up on toward Arnage. Funny story, when we were racing here in 2010 at the Le Mans Classic, we had a throttle cable broken. The little vintage car we were racing was a little Chevron prototype, and the throttle cable broke right about here, and the car coasted to a stop. Obviously couldn't go, and the locals right here with this opening here on the left, they captured the driver, which was me. They captured a pilot, and they captured the car and drug it into that front yard, and that's where we waited for the flatbed to come and get the pilot and the car. Okay, right now we're headed on up toward the Porsche curves, the most technical part of the track right there to our right. That's the Porsche curves. It's certainly the most technical part of Le Mans circuit. The circuit's about 8 miles long, a little over 8 miles long. And we'll rejoin here shortly. Again, a little diversion for local traffic, and then we're going to go right back underneath the circuit. This bridge we're going under. That is right in the middle of the Porsche curves, and the Porsche curves head on up to the Ford chicane, which then takes you right back out onto the straightaway, and that's a lap of